This is the morning of the 4th of November. It just happened again. I spent around 15 minutes on this clip and boom, nothing there. It's real frustrating. Clip, and I don't know how real this is, but the title's interesting. Diddy's sentence increased to life. Cassie's hotel CCTV video stuns the courtroom. So let's have a listen. It's 27 minutes long. I'll probably do this in two parts, maybe 13, 14 minutes each.
Friday, October 10th, 2025. Manhattan, SDNY Court. Just 1 week ago, on Friday, October 3rd, the world watched as Sean Diddy Combs was sentenced to 50 months in prison. Many thought the chapter was closed, that the saga was finally over. But they were wrong, because today the courtroom doors opened again. Cassie Ventura and her legal team had requested the case be reopened, claiming there was new critical evidence that the world hadn't seen before. And now this Friday morning, the stakes were higher than ever, because Diddy's freedom was on the line once again. Outside the courthouse, chaos reigned. Reporters screamed into live feeds, flashing cameras blinded security officers, and helicopters circled above the Manhattan skyline. Fans gathered behind barricades, some shouting, "Free Diddy!" while others held signs demanding justice for Cassie. Inside, the tension was unbearable. Every journalist, every attorney, every single person could feel that something massive was about to happen. Diddy sat silently at the defense table, wearing the same tired expression he had during the first sentencing. But this time, there was no confidence left in him, no swagger, just fear. Because Cassie wasn't just bringing words this time, she was bringing proof. Before we dive deeper into this shocking new hearing, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that bell icon so you never miss updates like this one. Now let's get back to it. At 9 a.m. sharp, Judge Aaron Subramanian entered the courtroom. The gavel hit, and it was like thunder rolling across the room. Cameras weren't allowed, but you could feel the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Cassie walked in next, escorted by federal marshals and her attorney. She didn't glance toward Diddy, not even once. But when she took the stand and raised her right hand to testify, Diddy finally looked up. For the first time, his face showed it. Panic. And then Cassie said the words that silenced everyone. "Your Honor, this time, I brought the truth with me." That moment didn't just change the courtroom. It changed everything. The air inside the SDNY courtroom felt heavy enough to choke on. Every movement, every breath echoed off the marble walls as Cassie adjusted the microphone in front of her. Across the room, Diddy's lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, leaned toward his client, whispering something urgent. But Diddy didn't respond. He just stared down at the table, hands clenched together, his knuckles pale. This wasn't the confident mogul the world remembered. This was a man watching his entire legacy collapse in slow motion. Cassie took a deep breath, her voice steady but burning with emotion. "For a year," she began, "I stayed quiet. I was scared, controlled, and manipulated. But I'm not scared anymore." The courtroom froze. Even Judge Aaron Subramanian leaned forward, listening closely. Cassie looked right at Diddy. "I have nothing left to lose, and everything to reveal." A murmur rippled through the crowd as Cassie's legal team opened a brown envelope and slid it toward the clerk. Inside were stills, screenshots from what they called the truth tape. Each image, time-stamped and authenticated, showed moments from parties Diddy once threw behind closed doors. The kind that insiders whispered about but never dared to confirm. The evidence, Cassie said, was taken from a hotel's security system. Hidden footage that Diddy thought had been erased years ago. The judge instructed silence, but it was impossible. Gasps erupted. Even seasoned reporters sitting in the gallery exchanged looks of disbelief. Diddy turned his face away, jaw tight, as if refusing to see his own downfall captured in high definition. Cassie continued, her voice shaking but determined. "He made those parties look glamorous, but behind the music, behind the lights, it was abuse, it was control, and it was real." Mark Agnifilo stood immediately, objecting that the evidence was prejudicial, but Judge Subramanian shut him down instantly. "Sit down, Mr. Agnifilo. The evidence will be reviewed in full." For the first time, Diddy's courtroom armor began to crack. His lawyer's objections didn't land, his supporters were silent, and the cameras outside were broadcasting every update to millions across the world. It wasn't just a trial anymore. It was a reckoning. Cassie turned toward the jury, eyes filled with both pain and defiance. "He always thought money would protect him," she said, "but money can't buy the truth." And in that moment, every person in the courtroom, from the defense bench to the last seat in the gallery, realized that this hearing was no longer about one man's sentence. It was about how far power can go before it breaks. The courtroom lights felt dimmer now, as if the truth itself was casting a shadow over everyone in that room. Diddy sat perfectly still, but his mind was visibly racing. His eyes darted between Cassie, the judge, and the massive screen where the prosecution had begun to display key frames from the footage. Each image told a story, and each one hit harder than the last. The first clip was silent, just a grainy timestamp. A luxury hotel suite in Miami, late 2017. Diddy could be seen laughing with several people around him. Then the laughter faded and the frame shifted. What came next made the courtroom fall completely silent. Cassie, younger, visibly frightened, appeared in the corner of the screen. Hesitant, uncomfortable, and looking for a way out. Reporters in the gallery lowered their pens, no longer writing, just staring. It wasn't just a celebrity scandal anymore. It was a human story unfolding in real time. Cassie's attorney stood beside the projection screen, narrating what the footage showed. "This isn't rumor. This isn't gossip. This is evidence." Mark Agnifilo stood again, desperately objecting. "Your Honor, this footage was illegally obtained." Judge Subramanian didn't even let him finish. "Overruled," he said firmly. "Continue." Diddy's breathing grew heavier. He looked over his shoulder once, scanning the courtroom for someone, anyone, who might still be on his side. But even the faces that once smiled for him, former associates, distant family, media allies, looked away. Cassie watched the footage quietly, her eyes glistening but strong. She wasn't there for revenge. She was there for release. Years of silence were unraveling in front of the world, and she was finally reclaiming her voice. When the clip ended, Cassie spoke again. Not to the judge, not to her attorney, but directly to Diddy. "You told me no one would ever believe me. You said power would always protect you. But look where power got you now." The jury shifted uncomfortably. The energy in the room was suffocating, not just because of what was being shown, but because everyone could feel it. The tide had turned. Outside, the crowd had grown. People held phones in the air, streaming updates live. News tickers around the world ran the headline: "New Cassie evidence shocks SDNY court. Diddy faces possible life sentence." And in that moment, even though the trial wasn't over yet, it was clear to everyone, including Diddy himself, that something irreversible had happened. His defense wasn't just weak anymore, it was collapsing. The courtroom clock ticked past noon, but no one moved. Every pair of eyes stayed locked on the front, where Cassie sat, trembling slightly but unbroken. Her attorney handed her another file folder, the second set of evidence. Inside were documents, photos, and witness statements from hotel employees who had worked Diddy's private events over the years. Each testimony aligned perfectly with Cassie's story. Same pattern, same rooms, same silence afterward. "Your Honor," Cassie's lawyer said firmly, "these statements come from individuals who feared for their lives. But once this case was reopened, they stepped forward, because they realized justice only works if the truth is spoken." Judge Subramanian nodded gravely, his eyes scanning the pages. "Proceed," he said. Cassie adjusted her seat, hands clasped together, and continued her statement. "I didn't bring this forward for fame," she said, her voice steady. "I brought it because the truth deserves to be heard. For years, I watched powerful men escape accountability. I watched as they used money, fear, and influence to bury stories like mine. But I promised myself, this ends with me. Diddy's lawyer leaned over and whispered frantically, but Diddy didn't respond. He looked frozen. The same blank stare that had haunted his face since the morning began. The courtroom sketch artist's pencil never stopped moving. You could feel that this was history being captured. Reporters typed furiously, the clicking of keyboards echoing through the silent room. Even the court officers looked shaken, the kind of silence that only happens when the truth hits deeper than expected. Then Cassie's lawyer played another short clip from the so-called truth tape. It showed security guards escorting a crying woman out of the hotel suite. Her face was blurred, but her voice wasn't. "He told me not to tell anyone," the woman sobbed. "He said no one would believe me because he's Diddy." The courtroom gasped again, a ripple of shock that no one could suppress. One of the jurors covered her mouth. Another looked straight at Diddy with disgust. The judge leaned back, visibly disturbed. "These are serious allegations," he said, his tone heavy, "and the court cannot ignore this kind of evidence."
That'll be at the 10-minute and 23-second mark. There's another 17 minutes. I'll try to do that in the second clip. Hopefully this will download. The moment of truth is but at hand.